What's up, family? This is Ryan, with the whole story where health overarches literally everything. And today I have a very, very special guest with me. Also, this platform is this for Black men, to have a safe space to be able to share the story, the whole story. Rather you are coming into a healing process and or you don't know about being healed or anything like that, we are a platform that is a safe space for Black men because we don't have many safe spaces. So yeah, I'm excited for my next guest. We are good bros from another uh brotherhood that we are part of, and man, I gotta say, like, I'm excited to hear his story. I got to know him, from the other brotherhood, a decent amount, and just to hear some of his story is amazing, and it is life changing, and I believe it can help many Black men that come to this platform out in their process. Um, but yeah, how about we start with this, bro? We can start with your name and give a just a brief uh introduction about yourself, but then we can jump into your, if you want to jump into your childhood, your upbringing. How about that?
Gotcha. No, I hear you, and I appreciate that, Ryan. Um, Hi, what's up, everybody? My name is Christopher Oxley. My friends call me Ox, though, because I'm sure I don't need to tell y'all. Y'all know probably about 1,000 Chris's a pop. Yeah, I was born Panama City, but so Florida born, and proud to be in the Sunshine State. And right now, family man, wife, 3 kids, loving to pieces. And really just taking it day by day. Learning how to make this whole adulting thing happen. Quite frankly, um, I'm really honored to be here, and really glad to show support for everything Ryan's doing over here.
Appreciate that, bro. Appreciate that, man. It's like I said, it's great to have you um on the platform, man. And as it's building, as you know, it's fairly new, but it's building up more and more, and I'm excited, man. Just another brief thing about the platform. Like I said, the goal here is to be this huge library, um, full of Black men stories that a Black man can be able to access and to be able to get help. You know, a lot of us, as you know, don't know or like to go to therapy or want to speak to anyone and things like that. But even if a Black man gets stuck there, they could find this place and get motivation and encouragement and help on their in their process. And this could be part of it, right? So that's why this this dream or this platform was created. I feel like God gave it to me, and now we here, man. So, but yeah, man. All right, man. Let's jump into it, man. I ain't gonna, I don't want to hold you too long, man. I know you had a long day. How about we jump into your upbringing, man? How your household.
Sure. Yeah, I guess if we're talking stories and we're trying to help people out, then I'm gonna give it to you straight.
Yeah.
So it's funny too, because our other guys got us thinking about our stories and whatnot, and I can't really go far in mine without started noticing some pretty immediate shatter points. So like I mentioned, well, let me say this much. So both my parents are from Louisiana. This is 1970, so let's see, 1990 roughly is where my story really starts, where my family begins. Because my mom and dad were both 20 when they first had my older brother. They were both going to LSU at the time, and they'd known each other from high school, so basically high school sweethearts and whatnot. And you know how it goes, one thing leads to another. And yeah, they end up considering my older brother. They're not married, they haven't graduated yet and whatnot. Kind of one of those shotgun wedding affairs. And so they get married, and they just it's it sucks because like they just weren't quite prepared for how hard it is to be married at that point. I mean, they were kids. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not gonna jump ahead. I was at least a little bit older when I got to getting married and I learned from their mistakes to say the very least. But you know, they had a lot fighting against them throughout that relationship. My dad just wasn't prepared for the responsibility of being a dad or husband at that point. And it's not like they had a ton of family support back then for the relationship or just around locally. And through it all, you know, over the span of like 2 years, you know, their marriage had already fallen apart. Um, you know, there's a bit of adultery in there. There's a bit of theft. There's a bit of like a ton of betrayal, some trauma to go around. Like it's a whole lot. And it was like in this turbulent marriage that I was conceived in. And by the time I was born, you know, my mom gave him like 2 weeks of me being born and he was gone.
Wow.
So, you know, um, I wasn't a bastard, but I was damn close. I mean, I mean they were married, so it is what it is. The long and short of it is that like I just did not grow up. I just didn't have like my house was already broken right from the word go for me
Mhm.
personally. Um, and that's going to have a ton of ripple effects going forward. So when I was born, my mom was about 22 years old. She was really early in the military, and I had this problem because when I was a baby, I would constantly get sick and you know be in daycare and whatnot. You know the daycare providers can't take me in, she's got to call out of work, and eventually the Air Force she's calling out so often the Air Force is like, listen, you gotta like something's got to give with your kid and whatnot. So she splits from the Air Force. Now our livelihood's all screwed up. um so that's kind of that whole bedrock. So where's my memory first start? I got myself pretty blessed because I feel like I can go back up to about being 2 to 3 years old,
Oh,
and the wheels start turning for me. I'm living up in Tallahassee now, with my mom and my older brother, and I'm there with my uncle and his girlfriend at the time, who's now my auntie. They're like 20 at this point. There's like a 5 year age gap between my mom and her younger brother, and those are my earliest days. I kind of had a number of boxes checked off for me in that early age. I'm like, I've got my brother, he's my best friend, got my mom, so we're straight there. And my uncle filled the role of a father figure, even though that's not what he was trying to do, but it was enough. Didn't matter. And then I had auntie, so she was she was such a crazy disciplinarian. So it is what it is. But I have a lot of fond memories from that time frame. Like we they'd got a puppy really early on. That puppy lived until I was like a teenager. So we were tight. I remember Christmas is there. Somehow my 5 year old older brother's favorite movie was Friday. Part and parcel, but when you're part and parcel when you're freaking Guardians are basically a bunch of college students and whatnot. Um, there was just a lot of I just felt a lot of love in that house. So it was and then of course video games were kind of a benchmark at that point, like Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. They're going to be a constant in my story.
yeah.
So I have a lot of fond memories from that point. Um, wasn't too long after that, so I'm like 2, 3 that happened. So sometime between 3, 4, I jump ahead and we actually move from Tallahassee and we go back to where I was born in Panama City because she reenlisted in the Air Force now that I'm a bit older and a little healthier. And as I sat and thought about it, I'm like, this is probably where I started really wanting a dad consistently around, because I really felt my uncle's absence at that point.
Mm.
Um, and so, you know, mom was doing the best she could. She's just gotten out of a turbulent marriage. And I remember there being, you know, I remember she had a boyfriend, Davon. He was cool at the time. Um, It's a whole other story for why that didn't work out. Um, and now I'm just going to school. I've got a kind of a found family there a little bit in my daycare providers. Um, they were also Air Force. They knew what it was like, and they basically like took care of me and my older brother for like huge chunks of time. Like, you know how most
Mhm.
daycare providers, they're gonna shut it down after like, I don't know, 4 or 5 p.m., something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I'd be there until like 7, 8 p.m. or
Oh.
whatever, because my mom was off taking care of what she had to, cross training, this, that, or the third. So it'd be dark by the time she come pick us up sometimes. Um, and so I basically just looked at the daycare provider as my grandma, her husband, grandpa, and fast forwarding a little bit, my to be stepdad, also I met at this daycare home in Panama City. So this is kind of like the earliest backdrop I had. It's a lot of seasons of, going to school, mom working a lot. We had XYZ family set up, move, start new friends, go to school, rinse and repeat is a good bit of it. Um, and ironically, like I for the life of me, I cannot remember meeting my dad my biological dad, until I was like 5, maybe 6. He says I met him earlier, but I have no idea. Just didn't register that this was my template. And I say
Mhm.
that because we look really similar. Go figure, we're freaking related. Um, so we're kind of fast forwarding a little bit. And all this kind of like important to that whole core experiences thing, like the experience that kind of make me who I am, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so like fast forward a bit, we've moved. Mom's trying to get cross trained so she can become like a dental lab tech.
Mm,
Um, and she can't have me and my older brother with us at the time. It's just not how the setup works. So me and my older brother had to spend 6 months living with our biological dad.
mhm,
Um, by this point, he would have been about 28 or something like that, roughly.
mhm,
And yeah, so we moved over to where he was at Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. He's been there my entire life and is still there to this day. So when he planted roots, he really planted them. And I bring it up because like I genuinely hated those 6 months living with my dad. Um, I could kind of juxtapose it with the other male role models I'd had in my life, and it just sucked. It
mhm.
just sucked. Um, food was nasty because he lived off of rice and beans as a bachelor. Perfectly healthy, but terrible for a kid being in terms of like diversity or like making you want to enjoy yourself. Um, the ass whoopings. We would get My older brother would get spanked like nobody's business, man. Like for nothing, quite frankly. That's just being kids. It was never justified in my mind. And
Mm,
certainly not for how bad he'd get hit or what he would get hit with. Like those freaking those tire of the those like cord covers you'd be putting
yeah,
over, like those big
yeah.
plastic wooden spoons and whatnot. So that sucked. He had his nasty cigarette smoking girlfriend. Um, I'm not gonna name drop her, but I could. It still lives rent free in my head. Her freaking name. And I'm like, God, you were like such a sorry. You can't even touch or replace my mom. It was so bad. Um, I just did not like that time of my life at all. Um, Yeah, no, that shit sucks. So like the long and short of it was about 6 years old, and I'm just so mad at my dad that it and along with all the other experience I've had with just wanting a father figure, um, and understanding that my mom and dad's relationship just didn't work out, obviously not having all the details. I'm just like, I can't wait till I'm a husband and a dad so I can show you what's up. And that was like that's pretty much just a through line throughout my entire life. You carry that on up until like my 20s and whatnot, and all I ever wanted to be in life was a husband and dad.
Mhm.
Didn't career, no accomplishment, didn't none of it mattered more than just that distinction. And then the reasons on top of it just kind of continue to compound as the years go by. Um, I'd be getting ahead of myself if I'd said anything more about that season because I'm just a freaking kid. Um, so fast forward that period of my life ends. We move from Texas, Dallas, Texas, to Fairfield, California. Now, my mom has remarried, and she's now with that daycare provider I'd mentioned before. And so they're making that relationship work out. So now I've got a family of four, and we're in a new spot, sunny California. I'd watched enough movies at that point to be excited for where we were going. And I'd stayed in Fairfield, California for a good long time, pretty much from like 6 years old to 12.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we were there. So that was like the longest stint that I'd stayed in the military. That's kind of one blessing I had. Some of the audience who um, are military brats may have that feeling of like bouncing every couple of months or something like that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was able to keep my roots pretty good. So I definitely count that as a huge blessing. So I got like the benefit of travel and some kind of stability. So it is what it is. You take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
And I'd say that season of my life from like 6 to 12 was probably like the most probably the closest to like what I would imagine like a kid's movie kind of setup being, or like a nice strong family movie kind of setup. Mom,
Hmm.
dad there, got your older brother, you're doing the school thing.
Hmm.
And then within a couple of years, not even a year and a half, I have my younger brother. So he's born, which sucked, by the way. Being 7 years old and going from being the baby to the middle child, terrible,
Yeah.
absolute trash. I have hardcore middle child syndrome. Believe in fatherhood.
Yeah.
I resonate with his son super hard on the
Yeah.
middle child syndrome. That is
Right.
is tough. It's tough. Doubly so because like, my younger brother, he's half Panamanian, so he's light skinned. He's always had that smooth look. He really pulls it off.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, my older brother, I'm like short compared to the men in my family. My older brother's like 6'2", 6'3",
Mhm.
something like that,
Yeah.
and has always had like a good 100 pounds on me or whatever. So he just stands out.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm like so skinny, like get this nigga a sandwich, please.
Yeah.
Like they were like this kid's gonna fade away. I'm just like not as tall and I'm skinny and I just don't stand out nearly as much. So I get super subconscious or whatever. So that was pretty much that. Um, I don't know. I have a lot of fond memories with my time in California. Mom made some pretty good friends and there was a ton of stuff going on at that point. Um, I'd say it was definitely around third grade though, where my confidence just kind of got shot. Um, and it was probably a cocktail of different things that hit it all at the same time. I kind of, first and second grade, I'd always like kind of imagine myself to be something of a ladies' man,
Hmm.
being real charismatic, whatnot, hitting girls with the eyebrows, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they seemed to reciprocate it pretty good at that point, so it wasn't a big deal. Um, and then by third grade, like for whatever reason, it just was not clicking with girls nearly as much anymore. So that was kind of a really big blow to my self-esteem. And I didn't glean this and that, but the other thing that was kind of like a really big death blow was I remember my teacher at the time, she's like going on with the lecture and whatnot. I'm off to the side, kind of I'm a peanut gallery. Like I discovered this about myself now. So I just love spouting off whatever comments I might have at any given point. Um, but so I she's getting in the middle of the lecture and I'm cracking jokes and whatnot, and she just like shoots this death glare at me and is like she just comes down on me like hella hard. What to the for the life of me, I can't even remember what she said. All I know is that like whatever was holding me together at that point, just imagine like a plate shattering all over the floor. I was
Man.
just like, wow, this woman really does not want to hear anything I have to say. And it was like I felt like everyone kind of did at that point because, no longer the baby. So male child, getting to know about girls, whatnot. Was having a harder time forming friends
Hmm.
that specific year. So like it was just kind of this perfect storm. And not to mention I got into a little bit more trouble that year than others. So it was just like this perfect storm. And it just kind of I was just shot confidence wise. And that kind of cloud hung over me for a long time. That was like honestly through high school, to be honest. I never really came out of my shell at that point. So
Hmm.
for a huge chunk of my life, I thought I was just like an introvert and just walled off and whatnot. So um for the viewers, do not believe the lie that words can never hurt you. Like, no, I swear it is words that break you the most. Like I actually had it quite backwards, in the sense that like I didn't participate in sports or a bunch of other like extracurricular activities or whatever. Um, Maybe not thinking I was afraid of getting injured, but more worried about failing and whatnot. And no, it would have been those actions and stuff that would have built my confidence back up. So anyway, that's ultimately that. Um, there, the school wise, like I just kind of existed. I was never a straight A or like top of the line student,
Hmm.
but I was never an idiot. Like I didn't fail at anything either. I just never chose to excel or
Hmm.
felt the need to push myself
Hmm.
at any point either. I've always kind of wondered what would it be like if I like turned it up, but at the same time I just don't know how because I just kind of get scatterbrained or whatever. So I just kind of existed in the slightly above average but unremarkable area of my life, on the scholastic sense. Um, but I did become a gamer super hard though. So it's not that I had no passion for anything. Um, that's a completely separate thing. I don't know, whatever. Um, I'd say one last core bit from this time period in California though, interspersed with all the other fun stuff and good stuff that I had going on, um, was I did have to deal with a bit of recurring sexual abuse. And I know this is like a super hard turn. I just have to bring this up for the sake of what we get to in the future.
No, you good, man. Good.
Um, yeah, so um, it was someone close to me, um, and they themselves had gone through their own trauma years back, and it just followed them now in their own actions. Now, I guess you would call this Stockholm syndrome because I loved and regarded this person so much. I didn't think to protect myself from that kind of abuse. And by the time I developed a spine to tell them to stop, I mean, the damage is already done to me. And I didn't want to out them either. Um, the problem with that is when I say damage is done, is that like for longest time, like I had to deal with like homosexual tendencies to the nth degree at that point because your first sexual encounters really do a number on you and whatnot. So that was another recurring battle that I just had to that I thugged it out through. Um, yeah, when not helping with the not helping with the confidence front by any means.
Yeah.
Um, Last nugget from this period would be the beginnings of what I understood as faith. Probably going to church more in this period in California than anywhere prior, just because we have more of that stability and that family element. But it still wasn't made tangible. Kind of
Mhm.
funny going through church for a while, but not grasping the concept of salvation.
Yeah. I
Take
get
that for what you want.
Mhm.
So, so there's that. Um, oh, I guess shit. There's one more. So, last nugget, before we move on to the next chapter would be my stepdad and my mom ended up getting divorced, because their relationship just wasn't working out. Come to find out that he was actually also dealing with homosexuality and was tipping that way really hard. There wasn't any intimacy between my mom and him.
Mm.
Like you get what I mean by that.
Yeah, I get that.
And there was just a ton of things that went on in the background between those two. So despite a bunch of things for a while on the surface being fine, as far as we knew, I mean, we're kids, we're not paying attention to that. Um, so that relationship fell through, and um, it took me years to sit down and think about this, but it actually hit my little brother the hardest because I mean that was his dad.
Yeah.
Um, I had the blessing of not knowing who my dad was, and
Mhm.
so he was just not a figure. My older brother, much the same. He was maybe 1 or 2 years old
Mhm.
when him and my dad split, so it's not like he had a ton of core memories with them. Um, my baby brother though, he was like thick as thieves with his dad in the same, my stepdad ran a daycare in the house, so he
Yeah.
spent a huge chunk of his time with him and whatnot.
Yeah.
So that divorce hit him hard, and that just kind of sprinkled through his story and whatnot. Um, so that all that just kind of compounds to this like revolving door of father figures that I'm like chewing through, and just kind of building this hurt more and more. I'm definitely grateful to my stepdad because so much of how I approach fatherhood and how I engage with my kids now are is a reflection of what he did with us.
Mhm.
He was really playful. He was really affectionate. He was really silly, goofy, kind of cringe, honestly. But he showed a lot of love. So I just basically threw out the cringe and then kept everything else
Yeah.
that I liked about it and called it a day from there. So I still hold him in high regard, um, despite him basically choosing his lifestyle over his family.
Yeah.
And that's honestly how I see that shaking out. Um, so interesting turn. We then move from California all the way over to Germany,
Mhm.
for about four and
Mm.
a half years. And so that was sick. It
Yeah.
was very cool. The difference between being over here and over there is a world apart. Travel was amazing. There's really no borders, and we're all in the Euro system, so we could hop around a good bit more. Basically, the same time it takes to us to travel anywhere in the states. Give it a couple hours, and you're like in France or you're in Spain or you're whatever. Take a train ride or whatever, and you're just somewhere else. So it was dope. So I got to see Paris. I did get to see the Czech Republic. Just explored a lot of Germany, Belgium, Netherlands kind of area. Spending time in Amsterdam, things like that. Um, Very grateful for my time in the military because most brothers are just kind of stuck at where they were born. Like, I thank God, I thank God, mom went join the military and didn't keep us stuck in Louisiana because ain't nothing going on in Louisiana whatsoever. It's just tragic. Um, I got the blessing of a ton of culture and seeing the world in perspective and really getting to understand how amazing it is to be in born or a citizen in the United States personally. So yeah, no, I bleed red, white, and blue through
Mhm.
that whole experience and whatnot. Um, yeah, no. So kind of more of the same. I dabble. I go kind carry on through school. Wish I could have finished up my high school career over there. That would have been great, but that's beside the point. Got into martial arts. I love that's the one sport I definitely get into. I'm not one to fight. I'm not one to run. I'm one to fight, and I'd rather fight on my feet and then drop dead
Yeah.
than run like a bitch. That's just
Mhm.
me personally.
Mhm.
Um, I just never like that. And also I just hate running. But yeah, I got into martial arts. I mean, it's probably the saddest thing I have looking back on my childhood is kind of waiting for my story to begin as opposed to just attempting something wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Were not for like, games and cartoons and stuff like that. They just padded a ton of my time and whatnot. So it's not like I went off and, formed a bunch of experiences with close friends, or explored a sport or some other hobby or built some kind of skill. Um, I was just existing throughout that
Mhm.
time. Nor did I feel like anyone was pushing me to grow in any direction.
Mhm.
So I had a I had a pleasant childhood is how I frequently remember it. Um, but I did not allow myself to excel. Um, and if I could go back, I would just I would just try to give my younger self that reassurance. It's like just go out there and start making some mistakes, dude.
Yeah.
Go out there and just give your
Yeah.
heart to something. Just get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Um, honestly, be it martial arts, learn how to dance, be it pick a skill or a job or anything. Like just take a pick or start that YouTube channel,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Since back when I was in high school and whatnot, YouTube and Let's Plays and video game channels were just now getting started out. So YouTube
Yeah.
would have been a good time to get in YouTube or whatever.
Facts.
Um, but yeah, no. Um, so learning from my older brother, um I saw pretty prominently in high school that I saw him as the man. I
Yeah.
mean, again, 6'2", 200 something pounds, kind of commanded the room. He did well in school, so he was well known, and I was known as Reggie's brother because his name was Reg.
Mhm.
So I was Reggie's brother or whatever, and I couldn't break out of my shell in high school, given my damnedest. But by the time I was going to college, though, I was like, "That's it. I'm turning it around. It's
Mhm.
like I'm breaking out of this. Like I'm gonna be different. Then yeah, things are gonna start getting different here. So it took a long time,
Mhm.
a long time for me to get that dog in me, but it eventually got there to good effect. To good effect. Um, so glossing over a ton. Fuck. So mom was planning on going through and finishing out her entire 20-year tenure in military so she could get full retirement benefits, all that stuff. In by the time by the time my junior year had hit, she had to medically retire. She'd
Mhm.
had a heart condition that had developed, and it's causing heart palpitations and whatnot. And she was constantly having to be out of work for huge stretches of time. So much so that at one point, I have two uncles. Both of her brothers had to like leave their families, fly over to Germany, took care of her and the rest of us for a little while,
Wow.
just to look after us, just to take care of it, hold everything down. And it just kept these episodes kept happening, kept happening, kept happening, and the military said she had to go. So that threw a huge monkey wrench in those plans for her. We got to move back. we got to leave Germany and we moved back to Panama City because again, that found family, those daycare providers really they really love us and they really held us down. Um, so by this point, my older brothers moved on to college. Me, my mom, and my younger brother, we moved back, and I finished up my high school career over there. I personally count myself as an AF North Lion. That was the school I went to back in Germany.
Hmm.
I am an alumni there. I do not own Rutherford High School in Panama City. I graduated from there, but that is not the point. Nobody cares. I'm a Lion, not a Ram. Just gonna get that out of the way realistically. Um, so we finished up my tenure in high school. And I start going to community college. I wish to God I had known or started figuring out what I really wanted to do with my life, but it is what it is. So, begin community college, start trying to go to school for digital media, game design kind of thing. Start going through that period of my life, and I start putting myself out there. It gets easier. We live close enough to the school where I can bike to it. Um, I get a car within a year ish of that time of going to school. So now I've got wheels. God, having my first car was amazing. Complete beater. I think it was like, how old was that thing? Freaking, yeah, it was like 1997 Monte Carlo. Yeah,
Snap.
Jesus. Hot, nasty hot leather seats and just heavy and old. I swear, it's like your grandparents' car or whatever. But God, did I love the freedom that that thing gave me. It was amazing. It's like having wings. Um, and I used them. I flew. I went from like yeah. Starting out. I still spent a good bit of time at home, but just being able to like get a move around on my own and whatnot, or hang out with friends, it was. I felt like I'd been missing out an absolute ton. Um, so much so that I ended up sticking around like the community college campus and whatnot, and just shooting the shit with people. Um, uh, beyond that, I was found like by a scholarship. I didn't apply to this thing.
Oh,
So I got through high school. When I got through high school, I was covered for Florida Bright Futures
yeah,
back
but
when it
you
was
just yeah,
funding
yeah.
people. So Bright Futures covered me really well there. But I get to the community college, and someone like this woman, Carrie Baker, she finds me straight up. Someone did. I don't know, someone from that scholarship program. So basically, it was this program where where they were trying to invest in young black men. Send them up when in college so they could take that next step in their life. And they started setting like real expectation for us, attending meetings, doing extracurriculars, community service,
Hmm.
things like that. And I just remember that first time going in there for a meeting, and I'm like, I don't remember applying to this. I'm like, Mom, did you apply to this? And she was like, No, but you're going. And, she explained everything that was going on, and I'm like, I'm on my full yes man timing. I'm like, free money. I'm like, okay, I can
Yeah,
do this.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, so it was a good time. That was the brother to brother scholarship. So it was just a real good group of guys. Probably the first time I felt like really a part of something. Um, So we did. So I started doing like some community involvement, kind of like a big brother mentoring kind of figure over at one of the other churches, not the one that I went to locally, but one from like the less good part of town
Hmm.
or whatever. Met some good people there. We put on different events. I started using some of my digital media design abilities and started making flyers and stuff. So I just started doing things ultimately, and like, was it good? No. Like, was I like good at any of this stuff? Not at all. Um, and I was still just coming into myself. So it's not like I became president of the freaking group or whatever, despite what my boy Kendall wanted. Um, but it was just cool having um having a cause, I guess, and forming those friendships and just kind of doing stuff. So I started getting a taste for that around those years, and it was around this time too. Would have been by the time I turned 18 years old. Every throughout my entire life up until that point, I'm going to church or whatnot over in Germany or wherever, but I'm always following my mom and I'm picking things up. I'm looking at like, how people talk about Christianity, but I'm like doing the arithmetic on like, well, why is it that people seem to jump down Christianity's throat, but not like through Buddhism or Hinduism? Like everyone else is
Hmm.
celebrated, but Jesus is kind of dunked on pretty hard. And I'm like, I feel like that's good evidence that there's something to this.
Yeah.
Not the strongest logic in the world, but it does hold water, at least in this case. And so by the time I turned 18, I'm like, I want to make this my own. I want to figure this out for real. So I'm gonna strike off with my mom and I'm gonna dive into this faith myself. So I split off, I find another local church, start getting involved there, understanding what baptism is, start doing Bible study, things like that.
Hmm.
And just getting involved with that youth group because they're all about like 18, 19 or whatever
Hmm.
with me too. So like I started really getting a taste for the church as a whole at this time, or learning about serving in the church or being a part of it because I started teaching at least a little bit um at that point in my life. I'd understood what baptism meant by this point and actually got baptized as opposed
Hmm.
to just getting wet.
Yeah.
And that's where was really I'd given my life to Christ when I was like 15. So yeah, God, that was a moment. Um, which he did heal me in that moment too. I can briefly go back to that. So I'm 15 years old. I'm in Germany. I'm dealing with eczema on my face. It's like sitting like right here. Never forget. This nasty skin rash part of my face. For months, I'm like using face creams and whatnot. My mom's doing what she can to help this thing, and it's just kind of a problem. So I go to this youth conference that they put on over in Germany. It's called Busted Loose. I
Hmm.
wonder if they're still doing it to this day. And I go, or I'm listening. I'm watching a recording from the previous year.
Hmm.
Sorry, kids got me sick.
No, you good.
Anyway, so this is the first time I'm hearing the concept of salvation. So I'm like
Hmm.
14 years old, and I'm finding out like it's not a matter of being good or bad. Like like we're just chopped
Hmm.
as human beings, and there's nothing you can do about sin. And I'm like, okay, so where's it's like you got to give your life to Christ. You got to mean it. And I'm like, okay, so where do I sign up? Because from everything, hell sucks.
Yeah.
I'm not that boat by any means. It was a powerful. It was a powerful. It was put on a powerful play too because I remember the play for it was like they were like I said the words. I showed up to church, but I didn't live that life. And it was basically showing like how like there were a bunch of kids who grew up in church and whatnot and said they'd given their life to Christ, but their lives didn't reflect it, and by the time like they
Oh,
die prematurely in the play,
wow.
and they burned straight up.
Wow.
And it wasn't so much a scared straight thing, but it did kind of put some real weight behind this decision I was going to make. So watch the recording, go to the event the next day with everybody, and it was a fun time. It was cool. We get to the end, they start doing altar call and whatnot. One of the women there takes my hand and she prays. It's like, is there anything specific you want to pray about?
Hmm.
And I'm like, I really couldn't think of anything off the top of my head. So I was like, this eczema is on my face. Like I just can't get rid of this thing. Um, so she prayed. I gave my life to Christ. Um, Kind of go home. We move on. I did not have that eczema problem at any point ever again in my life.
Wow.
And And is it like it's not leprosy? It's not like I grew an arm back or I got my vision back or whatever, but it was enough.
Yeah.
It was enough for me. That I'm like, okay, all right, cool. The problem, the problem that kind of came out from this and why it took me like 18 years for me to start taking this seriously is that the concept of discipleship was never brought up.
Mm,
So we came back from the event, a bunch of people gave their life to Christ, but there was no one to lead us at that point. And if it weren't on our parents to do so, and there's no one at our churches that made that their mission, we all just kind of fell off to some extent.
yeah.
So it took me until 18 years. And so like from 15 to 18, I'm like beginning to deal with my porn addiction at this point.
Hmm.
And I'm like, the Holy Spirit is kicking my ass
Hmm.
in terms of making me feel condemned.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is a wrong thing I'm doing. Can't stop. Shouldn't be doing it though. Got it. So like sitting
Right.
on Friday, Saturday, going to church on Sunday, bawling my eyes out. Like I'm sure I'm sure no one in the audience can relate to that. No one's ever had that phenomenon before. Y'all are all much more holy than I am.
That's
My God,
crazy.
I wish I could get better about all these things. But the point being is that like life started getting really real by the time I started really giving my life to Christ.
Hmm.
And that shift in how I looked at or was trying to see God, I feel was also like giving me more strength and strength to build my confidence back up, alongside what I was doing at the college and whatnot. So I'm seeing that I have a lot more agency in my life by the time I turn 18 and from the years going on from that point.
Yeah.
So let's see, 18 years old, that'd be 2011. Yeah,
Hmm.
2011. 2023, graduate, get my associate's degree, head off to UCF here in Orlando. Still here to this day.
Hmm.
Go Knights, by the way. Um, so I go to UCF and I'm going to school for game design, doing my thing. I'm feeling better. I'm socializing more. Still got my whip, so I'm free, and I am in full swing. I'm not coming home. I'm like, I would, I wish I could have just moved to Orlando and didn't have my family with me, but my mom and my younger brother and my older brother, they all came through. My older brother had graduated from university, came back living with us, and so it was the bunch of us all there. So I didn't get the full college experience, but I was going to get damn close. I was going to get damn close, have a bunch of fun, and I don't even didn't need to be the band, but I just needed to. Well, I was definitely going to go out there, make some real friends, form some strong memories, just really enjoy this season and whatnot. So that time starts popping off, and I still keep in contact with a good number of my friends. Actually, it's my birthday this Sunday,
Oh
so
snap,
I'm finna.
man. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, man.
We're next to
Turning,
each other.
yeah, turning
Yeah.
33.
Oh man, I remember when I was 33. Man.
Yeah, that was like what 2 years ago?
I'm 37 in April.
Ah, bet. I feel. I he's still getting around strong. I'm shook. I'm trying to work out a whole lot more so I don't throw my back out.
That's it, bro.
Mm. But yeah, no. UCF was huge. Aside from like making better friendships and whatnot, really starting to grow apart from my mom at this point because I'm
Mhm.
like going from like 20 to 24. By this point, I'm really tired
Mhm.
of living home alone.
Yeah.
They say, nah. So UCF is beautiful for me. I mean, it taught me a ton of good lessons. One, I really wish I'd known really what I want to do in terms of career, because there's a huge difference between playing video games and making video games.
Yeah.
Completely freaking different. And I just do not have the attention span or discipline or art talent or desire, quite frankly, to make these things. Um, I will play them all day though, all day. Maybe not all day. They kind of make me sick at some points, but still. Um, so I had to kind of sort that stuff out. I figured out pretty quick I wasn't gonna get into game design by the time I graduated. I just didn't want to drop out or shift majors and delay life happening any longer. So I just
Yeah.
thugged it out. I'm not gonna lie, I was that guy who was coasting because nothing but game design is nothing but group projects, and I contributed thought and I was encouraging and whatnot. But was I good at programming? No. Could I do art? No. I would write documents. I could do very unique niche things, but basically, like the rest of my classmates just carried me straight up.
That's
I say that quite candidly. Um, and very few people called me out on it. So life goes on. I don't know where most of those people are anyway, so it's what it is. But whatever. So I was gonna have to deal with that problem later when it come to the work part because I met my wife at UCF.
Ooh.
Um, interspersed throughout this, I made it a point to work because my mom was kind of busting ass really hard, working two, maybe three jobs at a time, keeping the lights on for us. So I work a little bit just to at least have some spare change or whatever. And at UCF, they had this student assistant program where students would work for like, advisors or different offices and whatnot. So I go in for my job interview. I'm not dappered up, but I'm at least looking professional.
Yeah.
And the person I saw went on to be my wife. She was also working in that same office and let's see, NASC, Nicholson School of Communication it was. And she's sitting there as a student assistant herself, and I'd been there for maybe a year or so. Um, and so she was my receptionist, and I greeted her, and I remember like looking at her and be like, okay, yeah, she's pretty nice, she's pretty cool, or whatever. I don't. And then I asked her later on, and she's like, well, I asked what her first impression of me was, and she was like, oh, he's pretty cute. So it's funny how that works out looking back. So obviously, I go in, I get the interview. Nice lady. I love Jane. She was sweet. She was a good boss. Get the job. And basically, we're just like sitting there, front desk receptionist kind of people, and we kind of triage the students that come in and do student advising for that college.
hmm
And it left a lot of dead time for me and she to talk.
hmm
And um, she definitely attracted me a ton, or like definitely stood out to me because normally I struggle to talk to women, at least to
hmm
find like conversation that I think
Yeah.
is like engaging. You know what I mean? Because I'm a nerd, and
Yeah.
I mean a nerd. So I know what to talk about. Somehow, though, like we just hit it off. Like we could
Yeah.
just things off each other and whatnot really easily. Um, so like someone would bring candy and whatnot. I figured out what her favorite candy was. Would get her for
hmm
her. I'd like I would go take a trip to Louisiana, get some crawfish pie, give her crawfish pie, that kind of thing.
Hey.
I mean, we're just going back and forth. Not to mention, she was the cutest girl in that office at the time, anyway. So like, she was like heartbeat. She had like cutest appearance and best temperament, and had a good reputation. Let me tell you guys online. If one, college is an amazing time to find a wife. At least that was my perspective, and my older brothers told me the same thing. Two, um, seeing your spouse at work and seeing their reputation and whatnot, huge thing, huge deal.
hmm
Because as opposed to like when you're just dating out and about and you're like, oh yeah, she's kind of fly, you know what I mean? Or oh yeah, like we have a lot of fun or whatever. But she's like a complete moron in other
hmm
contexts, or like can't maintain relationships with authority or whatever.
Uh-huh.
No, I just went ahead and foregone all of that by by seeing how she engaged at work and whatnot. So
Uh-huh.
she really stood out. She was kind of like the golden child in the office and whatnot. And on top of it, she's a Christian too. She's exploring her faith. I'm sitting there trying to holler at her at one point when I'm for sure that she's not gonna move away when she graduates.
Oh.
And she's like, "Oh, I'm finna go finna be gone for a little bit." I'm gonna miss my church service and whatnot. And I was like, I'll go and I'll take notes for you so you can you can get what you need from it and not miss anything. And she was like, cool. So I go to that church and whatnot and meet everybody there. End up being my church home for a little bit. Is what it is. But I'm doing what I can because I really like this girl.
Yeah.
So yeah, like she's my first serious girlfriend, quite frankly. There were other little girls or whatever, but like this first serious girlfriend. And she's the only woman I've ever been with, like intimately. So, long story short, that's kind of one thing checked. Like, considering what happened with my parents when they were kids,
Yeah.
I was really glad I kept it in my pants until I got married.
Yeah.
So, that was at least one thing I succeeded in.
That's
And I
dope.
was definitely mentally conscious throughout the entire time is no matter how badly I want a woman's attention, I am not going to get caught with a life sentence of sticking it in, and now I'm stuck to this woman that I don't even want to be around anymore,
Hmm.
or bring a kid up when I'm not ready, and in a relationship that was just never meant to be.
Exactly.
At least cross that bridge. Um, Not to say we were perfect by any means. I'm gonna leave it at you should not be hanging out with your girlfriend alone at night times, but but God does still bless, God has still blessed our marriage, so it is what it is. Just do as I say, not as I do. Uh, oh God. Much of what I feel like my story, I felt like I didn't have much of a story until I met because it started asking more and more out of me.
Hmm. Good.
So this was so I mean, I love her to pieces. Quite yeah, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So finish up UCF within a couple of months. Get my first big boy job. Buddy of mine at the church hooks me up with a job at a bank, which is fine because I didn't want to get into game design. Um, so I'm making good. I'm making big boy money. I save up, put a ring on it with the missus. I'd be wearing the ring right now. I still have it, but like I started forming an allergy to it, so that sucks. So I got to get a new ring. Whatever. But anyway, we get married. She was sweet. She was sweet. Hurricane screwed up the honeymoon,
Hmm.
but yeah. So I've accomplished goal number one. I'm married. Uh, I love this girl. She loves me. She's actually interested in me. Got my big boy job. Thank God, finally moved out of mama's house. Thank God I moved out of mama's house. Oh God, that was. She wasn't happy about me marrying at the time though.
Oh man.
Mom did not think I was ready at all. So briefly, as brief as I can anyway. So like when I said I was trying not to be home at all, by the time we got to Orlando, I was barely home, especially after I started dating Eve. So my mom didn't know how serious I was with Eve throughout the time I was dating her. And my mom definitely had the mindset at the time of just taking things slower and um getting a feel for the other person or like XYZ having like a little bit more relationship experience or whatever. And she didn't know very well, kind of because whenever I did have hangout, whenever how would I say it, whenever we had like dinners or together with
Yeah.
me and them and whatnot, just would not shake out really well. They got off on the wrong foot, really
Oh
bad,
man.
really bad. They just get off on the wrong foot, which is hilarious because there's a lot of overlap in their personalities, but that's probably why there's friction. I hate that that happens, but it is what it is. I just couldn't do a ton to avoid it.
That's true.
So like what by let's see, I met she February 2015. We start dating May 2015. By the time it's 2026 February, something like
Hmm.
that. I popped the question. No, something like that. Something along those lines. Yeah. I graduate. I am off. February 2017. That's when it was. I popped the question. Mom was not happy.
Ah,
Mom was not happy at all. I lovingly refer to that night as Hell Night. So, bit of setup. So, even my mom already knows I've popped the question to my girlfriend, fiance at this point. Um, we move. Oh, sorry, no, we move. My mom wants to meet her mom and her side of the family, and I've already met mom. I've already met my wife's family, my in-laws. Um, Dad's not in the picture. Whole story, but I'm in good with the other siblings and the mom. So good with my in-laws. Her not so much. I kind of blame that. I mean, there's blame to go around, but it is what it is. So my mom, my side, her side, they meet, and when we talk, and my mom crashes out. My mom's just like, my mom is like, he's not ready. She's clearly had other. She's definitely had other boyfriends. She's like Chris is what do you call it, condescending and judgmental, like just throwing ad hominems attacks and whatnot, just saying I'm not prepared, saying I need to take more time, saying I'm rushing into this whole stuff and whatnot. It was so crazy. Like, my little brother and her siblings are there, and they're all just watching this like just agape. Like, yo, this is mom. She is coming after this man
yeah,
and our sister. So they just stay quiet. And I honestly, I honestly should go back and ask my mother-in-law what her thoughts of that night were, if anything. But even she seemed to come off like, this is really harsh
yeah.
right now. And but it was important to me, and something for you guys, something hopefully the audience keeps this in mind. There comes a point where you have to defend your relationship.
Mhm.
You have to stand up for it. One of my biggest concerns on my that my wife had, trying not to say a name for the sake of privacy, that
No,
kind of
you're
thing.
good. You're good.
Um, so like if I ever say it in recording, just kind of like blurt that out or whatever. But anyway, one of the concerns that my wife always had was that I might be something of a mama's boy, that kind of thing. Pretty reasonable considering much of my life was her being the covering of my life and covering and taking care of most everything in terms of working and stuff like that. And so her approval would naturally carry a lot of weight. But by the time I had this conversation, I'm like, if my mom is telling me to choose between her and my fiance, I'm choosing my fiance. That's that. Like, we're making this happen. Um, so it was a hard night, and a lot of out of pocket things were said that night. But still, I stand by my decision, and I'm really glad for it. Really glad for being able to stand my ground that day. Anyway, God, we're already an hour in. Jesus Christ, I talk way too much. Um,
What-
so fast forward a little bit. We're about a year and a half. I'm really glad I kept it in my pants all those years. It did not take me long at all to get my wife pregnant. And I knew it was the case. I'm like, Oxley men just have strong seed. You know what I mean? They will fight through the snow, through the tundra to get to the egg and fertilize. So it wasn't long before we have my oldest son. He's now 7. Um, and now I'm like, yeah, I've done it. He's a boy too. God, I popped off when I for that gender reveal party and it was a boy. I'm like, yes, let's go. And so he's born C-section. So that was a rough process. We definitely had a scare. There was a point where my wife almost died from preeclampsia. The medical field is not hospitable to Black women.
No.
Um, but glory to God, she's healthy, she's well. My son's healthy, he's good. So we have a family, accomplished it, done it. Um, Now that I've accomplished this thing that I've always wanted to do, I'm now a husband and a father. I'm now realizing I'm like, oh, how do I be a good one?
Mm.
because I'm working at the bank, but I have no trajectory on what I want to do for career.
Yeah.
My income dropped because my wife is now staying at home with the kids, which I want, honestly. Um, my son's autistic, um, not severe, but enough, to where it's a struggle for him. He's got some stuff to work through. So her being home lets him get to therapies. He gets a much more tender care. There's just a lot more stability for him. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah.
Just wanted to give that to my kids, whether they were neurodivergent or neurotypical. It is what it is. But my income, I've been stuck in an income bracket for like, God, how many years has it been? Yeah, like 7+ years at this point. It sucked. So I never figured out that career element, like I'd mentioned before, from graduating school or whatever. Um, and I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the squeeze. There's a point where we're working at the bank. You ever heard of Primerica before?
Dude, they trapped me. Yes, I definitely do.
Okay, cool. So so I went down that rabbit hole for a while. Oh God, I was desperate trying to make the dream happen.
Yep.
Um, we're doing multi-level marketing. So I mean, I still are just throwing stuff at the wall, just trying to make something, just trying to provide for my family. I try to do a internet marketing business on Facebook, but I don't have enough creativity or confidence in myself to put out a product in someone else's name, so I can't get that off the ground. Primerica happens. I worked that for like 8 months while also doing my bank job, and I just can't get anything off the ground
Yeah.
at all. Mind you, it was during COVID too, no less, so that's not
Oh.
helping anything.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, that was like, yeah, 2021 was when I was going through all that. Um, just couldn't get anything going. No one in my network around me, you know, came on board and actually ran with it. Got not a lick of life insurance, nothing. That was a lot of just time and energy and heart and frustration, like just beating my head against the wall trying to make that happen or whatever. And eventually, like, because I work at a bank and Primerica is a financial services industry, it was a conflict of interest.
Hmm.
So I had to choose one. So I'm like, well, obviously I'm going to take the one that's actually paying me money.
Exactly.
So God gives me a nice convenient way to get out of Primerica, and I can work through that period, which is good because I was genuinely like depressed
Yeah.
by this point. Negative, no, not good. I'm desperate by now. Um, let's see. Oh God. So by the time Primerica's done, um, my wife's pregnant with my second child, my daughter. Now, like when I say my swimmers swim, them motherfuckers be swimming. Um, and when you're broke, you be doing a lot of the hanky panky. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm a mess. Anyway, so I know I've got another kid on the way, so I go back to basics. I'm delivering pizzas for Papa John's, and that was surprisingly decent money, but obviously not sustainable, especially when your car starts falling apart.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just like, God, I gotta get something going, please. Let's see. Yeah, Pop doesn't work out. Then I'm a trash valet. So, those apartment complexes, those trash bins sitting outside,
Yeah.
I'm taking all those out. I'm taking
Yeah.
that off. And I did that for 3 years. Um, and then I get laid off at the bank.
Oh,
And I'm like,
no.
and it was decent money, but I'm like, I mean, layoffs happened every year there. So the axe was going to fall at some point. I knew it was coming. I just didn't prepare for it very well.
Yeah.
So So I get so I get severance. Thank God I got severance and I kept insurance for X number of months. It was a good 4 months because I'd been there 6 years and they just rounded up. So I got 4 months. Yeah, I got 4 months worth of severance off of
Nice.
that.
Nice.
Um, long story short, do an amazing career course called LifeWorks. So LifeWorks Orlando. Gonna plug that in right there. Graduated from that, taught me a bunch of skills on how to seek a job, built my confidence. I start working as an air conditioning salesman for a time, thinking that that kind of coincides with my personality type, and so on and so forth. So now I'm doing the trash job while also doing air conditioning, learning sales. I start trying to learn the trade, so just shifting from sales to the actual maintenance and diagnostic part of it and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Try to make that happen. Try to make good money. That didn't work out.
Yeah.
So that was like 2 years of attempting that. Just couldn't get that off the ground. Um, and we hit this point in my marriage where other issues pop up. That porn addiction is really screwing with me right now.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a point where like my wife's this close to being ready to divorce me. Rightly so. Whole other story. Wish I could if I shut the hell up, I could have gotten to this a little bit more. Um so she knew her ultimate her boundary was I need to go get psychological help, go talk to somebody, figure this out, start learning how to cope.
Okay. So therapy. All right.
Go to therapists, and another godsend in the midst of all this is that the therapist sees something in me. So he gives me like two books, Atlas of the Heart and Dopamine Nation. Atlas of the Heart is a book that just gives you a way of describing more emotions, since most adults can literally just say happy, sad, angry.
Yeah.
Most people are just kind of stuck. And then dopamine, so just a way to be able to process what it is that you're feeling at any given moment. And then Dopamine Nation just kind of gives you a better idea of how our brains work on this pleasure hormone or whatever. So I chew through both of those books in a week, and
Dang.
I come back the next time, I regurgitate a ton of it, and I start applying what it had already seen. Now, my therapist is sitting there thinking like, you've already done a ton of legwork in no time flat, and now it's just from like one time meeting me and whatnot. So the point about this now is that he plants the seed in my mind to get in the field that I'm in right now.
Mm-hmm.
He knows that he knows my situation, husband, father to two kids at the time, and trying to figure just dealing with the stress of trying to provide for a family and whatnot. So he prescribes for me that I get into the field of behavior analysis.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically the field in which we work with people who are autistic but have issues with behavior, either sitting still in class, knowing how to engage with their parents,
Oh
or
wow.
talking to people, communication, whatever, or just not, or just patterns of behavior that are just um, detrimental or even harmful to themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and working with them to um, basically have stronger coping mechanisms so that they can still engage with the world around them.
Yeah.
And so he tells me to start getting into this field. And I'm like, okay, we need to make something happen. So I'm working at the AC company, studying for that to get my license to get into that field. That's where I'm at right now. So I've left AC. I'm now a behavior therapist.
Yeah.
I am now in school right now getting my master's degree at University of West Florida to become an analyst. From there, I can make a good, confident 6 figures so that I'm not constantly on the struggle bus. And so all the while, right now I'm kind of living off of right now student loans are kind of closing the gap, but working the field, picked up my part-time job, currently at a restaurant, and still holding it down on the family front. With a third kid because I just can't help myself. Um, two boys, so boy, then girl, now another boy. He's 2 months old. Sweetest thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very. So it's been a ride. It's been an absolute ride. Um,
It's,
long and short of anyway, that's kind of where I've gotten to all these. That's kind of where I've
So,
gone through with all these places. Yeah.
okay, well, I appreciate you sharing that, bro. Um, how about we do this? Let's dig into right now. We're gonna dig into like the mental health of where you're at right now. Can you
Work.
break down or just share with us in the audience how or did your therapy now help you to dig back to what you know now? As you get into kind of reflect on your childhood, all the way up to this point. Was it that helped you, or were you able to do that before therapy?
There were how do I say it? There were several instances in my life where I had to start unpacking the trauma I had younger. Um, when it came to the sexual assault that I had to deal with, um, basically, um, how would I say it? Those what do you call it? The sexual urges that I'd had before,
Yeah.
or that battle of homosexuality that I had to deal with before at one point, was prescribed basically to, instead of constantly hiding it or stop protecting the abuser and whatnot,
Mhm.
was just to be able to come forward and just tell that part of it candidly with the people that it mattered most to. Obviously, not to broadcast it throughout the entire world,
Exactly.
but to my mom, who was my guardian at the time,
So good.
during this period that was happening, um, to confront the person who did it to me, quite frankly, so they could come clean with it, to confess what happened with my wife and whatnot, and just be able to get all that off my chest, so it's no longer hidden. Part of the reason why a lot of these addictions are at their worst is because of the secrecy that I found with it. Um, because you're just battling so much on top of it all, like, and you're holding on to it. At least when it's out there, there's just this huge weight that comes off of it. So, glory to God, the person who did that to me did come clean with it, and there wasn't any legal we didn't pursue legal charges against them, but they came forward. They honored their word, and they basically held a promise to me. Um, he'd said that if at any point he'd felt that my life was um, drastically or irreparably damaged from the harm that he did to me when I was young, that I just needed to say it and he would come clean and admit it. Took me a long time for him to call him on that bet, but he
Mhm.
actually did. And so that's why even now in this conversation, um, it's a shift. Now I just maintain that quietness as to who it is, out of a love, because I know that he is a repentant person.
Mhm.
And while we still maintain boundaries in terms of, like, proximity to kids and whatnot or whatever, um, I know that he's not a changed man. There's no reason for me to damage his reputation at that point.
Mhm.
So that was already like one huge weight off of my shoulders there. Um, Psychology helped out a ton in terms of processing stress and coping mechanisms. That definitely came through with Doc Lloyd over once I'd figured out about this whole behavior analyst field. Um, I had not processed how to deal with stress or responsibility by any means. Um, Part of the problem of not having, like, a team that I was a part of,
Yeah.
or something smaller stakes than a family, was that I just wasn't prepared for the kind of load that I was under.
Yeah.
So what I figured out from that point was, I mean, you heard what I was going through at that
Yeah.
period. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't have a ton of time for friends, or excursions, or wasn't I what fun I allowed myself to have, I did so out of a guilt and out of being hidden.
Yeah.
So I couldn't really get any rest from it at any point either. So for one, he taught from one my psychologist taught me to be able to forgive myself and understand that I have my own limits. Two, to not take everything on at all times because I was never meant to carry it to begin with.
Yeah.
You know, there's guys and there's guys in our other brotherhood that are high performer, high workers and whatnot. And even they would have buckled under all this stress.
Yeah.
And not to mention we're all black, so high blood pressure kills us,
Yeah.
at a high rate anyway. So we gotta watch that crap.
Facts. Facts.
But like there's no getting around it. Like the like in the black community we have this huge stigma around mental health and whatnot, and yet it's literally the make or break thing
Yeah.
for us. Like if we're not mentally sound, we're not going to do anything. We can't be right spiritually and we can't be right physically or in how we act at all.
Mm.
So
Mm.
uh, so for one, getting that professional help is massive. Two, seeking out, so another huge thing that happened because along with having a psychologist was there were several men that came around me as mentors and spiritual fathers to me at that period. One helped me out a ton with the psychologist already helped me with the career side of it, whatnot. Another was just like a coach and super encouraging. Another was helping me on the spiritual end of it. And one on the practical side. Like I just had these group of guys. I just opened up to some men that were around me, and I thank God that they, one, were sound people to be around and trustworthy, but also offered good wisdom and met me where I was at. So one, get professional psychological help. Two, reach out to men to be those mentor figures. And three, to put in the work and actually building
Mhm.
friendships with other guys that were around. Um, that's why I'm glad for conversations like these or other fellowship group and whatnot. Small groups at my church, they can be kind of hit or miss when it comes to guys groups. I don't know what your experience has been like, but like I'm hell bent on building authentic relationships with people and finding people who genuinely want to learn and grow and just and to do life together. And it's I don't know. I'd say like maybe 1 out of 5 guys that I find actually want to do that, but it's worth the effort.
Yeah.
And the guys that I run with, I've got friends now that are closer to me than my brothers, mostly because of proximity, really. I'd be
Yeah.
tight with my brothers too if they just lived here.
Yeah.
But I mean, those are the guys that I'm inviting to, this dinner on my birthday coming up.
Yeah.
They help keep me anchored. Um Especially with just how hard it is being husband and dad and whatnot. So like right now, those are the three strongest pillars when it comes to my mental health is having pretty much an immediate access to like a professional in the field of psychology, having role models to reach out to for wisdom and
Yeah.
insight, and for men and specifically men because getting the sauce from women, God bless you, but just filter your advice wisely. And having your ride or die homies, it's the anchor through the storm for me, especially when I figured out that I was an extrovert, as you could clearly figure out with me yammering on for an hour and a half.
Nah, bro. I just appreciate it, bro. Everything you hit on, like I said, like all the majority of the, I didn't have to ask you any many questions because you hit on majority through your story, to this last point right here, and that's a beautiful, because I was going to ask you to expound on that, and on, or what it meant as far as brotherhood, what it meant to you, but you hit on that, so that was beautiful, to be able to do that. Let's end up, and we can probably do a part two with this, because shoot, I was thinking about, you know, uh, speaking on your, your dad, and how that relationship is going, or is it even a relationship or things like that. Um, and but how about we do this? Just because I know it's getting, late your time. Maybe we can talk about part two. But how about we end this? For all the black men, bro, that are out there, um, that are struggling, right? They're struggling with whatever. It don't matter what it is, but one thing we know that a lot of us as black men like to be, we become lone wolves pretty easily, because we feel like we're alone. What message could you leave for them, or just in general, like what can you leave a message for that young teenager, that young adult, that middle aged guys like us and older? What message would you leave to those guys?
Um, I can't give an answer without saying this, and I say this with a lot of empathy for men who've gone down the spiritual path and searched this, but um life is brutally difficult, and we are not meant to get through it without God.
Mm,
Full stop. That has You don't have to have it all figured out, but pursuing that relationship with God, meeting Him on His terms, and understanding and appreciating how He meets you on yours, because I say that often wholeheartedly. There's a ton of grace that goes into that. First and foremost, pursue Him. And when you can get to a point where you can just trust that He has your back, that makes the next part easier. But in your relationship with pursuing Him, in your work, in your career, in your relationships, even in the struggle of what you're going through, my encouragement, keep going.
mm,
God gave you breath
mm,
in your lungs and a beating heart for a reason. Your mind is sound enough to hear what I'm saying and understand for a reason. Keep going. I had no clue what I was doing and had a family counting on me. My world felt dark and heavy, and I was like letting people down. And yet, the I had to keep going, knowing that He was with me, that there had to be a light at the end of this. And be it whatever challenge that I had, be it sexual abuse, or sucky family situations, or just a sense of loss, or loneliness in a relationship, or career, He has seen me through it all. So I have no idea what you're going through right now, and yet I know that there's a God who loves you and is strong enough to walk with you through it all. Full stop. But don't do this alone. Have God with you, and find men to run this race with you,
mm.
because I guarantee you they are out here.
Amen, amen. I had to pause on that one. That was good. Um, Bro, your story is, I mean, very deep. Thank you for sharing some of those deep parts of story that we know that many men struggle struggle with sharing or don't know they can even share it. And as we know, they react in a way that the world expects us to react because they've been through certain things like this, and they don't know what's really out here. They don't know there's men out here sharing and saying, forget that. I don't want to be, I don't want to be the same. I want to get help. So, bro, I just want to thank you, man. It's been an honor having you on the whole story, bro. And like I said, we probably can do a part two, even with some other stuff. But if not, this has been amazing, and I'm sure it's going to change a lot of black men's lives for sure. I'm for sure of that. So this is Ryan Middleton, the whole story. For those who are watching, um, if you love what you see, if you like the interview, would you please subscribe and like um, here on YouTube. And yeah, we love you, black men. Uh, just know that there are men out here that are praying, cheering for you, waiting on you um, to take that step, of faith into this world of healing. We want to see you healed. We want to see you free. And most importantly, we want to see you whole in every area because you deserve it, black man. We love you.